Hey everyone, welcome back to the OurSociety Experiment. Today we're going to be discussing some of the OurSociety programs that go on behind the scenes that you probably wouldn't hear about, but things that are very important to our society and our organization. So it's a requirement of any OurSociety employee, in that case me, to do civic education programs with the local high schools. The idea is, one of the big challenges with getting youth involved in civic engagement is there's not a ton of discussion about it and the value of it within high schools. Now, I say a ton because, of course, it varies in every institution. I would never make the claim to be so bold to say that it doesn't get done, but certainly it gets done better in certain places than in others. From our perspective, we thought that, what better way to involve students in civic engagement than having someone from their own local community come in and talk to them about civic engagement. Our Society's first official education seminar will be conducted at North Brunswick Township High School on February 6, 2018. I'll be hosting this seminar, and I've worked with a number of my teacher associates, which I've been very fortunate to have within my network, to really craft out a plan that is not only educational, it's incredibly involving. It's a discussion format that I'm really excited about, so it kind of engages the students. I'm not there to talk at them, right? This is about, it's a group discussion. This is probably going to be just as much as a learning experience for me as it is for the students joining and participating in the classes. We've created educational guides, our Society's Educator Companion, which is located in the links below. You can see in our description, I'll link it. So our program works within the New Jersey State Guidelines for Social Studies, which is a really nice benefit for any of you watching this in New Jersey, or even if you're in other states. We're happy to kind of share this information because we can tailor the program so it actually meets an educational requirement. The basic concept of our classes is pretty straightforward. We start the discussion basically like, what is civic engagement? Again, just kind of get the ball rolling, get people just to shout out ideas. What is that? What does it mean? Why does it matter? Why is it more important now than ever before? And kind of get that ball rolling just to kind of see where the students are at. We also send a pre-class survey. I should mention that. So far we have 11 responses back. Just a very brief survey about civic engagement, their perspective. I think it's like 5 questions, and what issues matter most to them, that they're hearing. Because I think it's super critical to really put ourselves in the shoes of the current 17, 18-year-olds who are seniors in high school right now. It's just a totally different reality than many of us live in and many of us grew up in. We're now having a generation of students who've had high-speed broadband access since probably since they can remember, for the most part, especially here in New Jersey, a more urban state. As we all are already aware, technology plays a massive role in shaping our experiences and our observations, which in turn shape the way we think and feel about things. So the students of the future high school students of maybe 10 years from now, they're going to be the first true global citizens, right? These are children who are growing up today with high-speed internet, mass broadband, the world's information, accessible to them at an incredibly early age. So we want to make sure that we're including the youth in the conversation. And I think that's one of always the biggest detractors of politics, and that we always find in our surveys is, why don't people care about civic engagement at a young age? Why don't people care about politics? One reason that students probably are unlikely to care is that it's exclusive, right? It's this insular vanguard, it's this insular collection of individuals who do a lot of things that seem pseudo-complicated, and there's not really a lot of transparency going on. There's more transparency now than there ever has been. But the question is, when I was in high school in 2000, when did I graduate? 2002. It certainly wasn't the case. Information did not exist as freely and openly as it does today. So we're very fortunate that that's the case. Afterwards, we're going to review some content. So we always look for, we want to highlight local leaders in the community. So for example, for the class next week, I have some articles about young, people running for local office. So people who are like 17 to 19, running for positions in their local community, school board positions, town council positions. These are really great opportunities for them to really kind of connect and relate to people who understand that, hey, this matters. And of course, I want to go on the record and say this because I think it's super important. Some of us may be watching and saying, well, why would I want an 18-year-old, on town council? What do they know? Right? But I argue that is a failure of imagination, because one of the failures of politics that we see now more than ever because of the freedom of information is that they don't take all perspectives into an account. And every generation, I'll say for now a generation, let's say like 10 years, right? They're growing up today, especially in a world that is vastly different than the world that we grew up in. I'll give you a personal example I like to discuss with friends. Right? So Facebook came out when I was in college in 2004 was when I went to school at Hofstra University. And that's when we had Facebook. And it was like all the rage. It was all college kids. It was way different than it is now. I couldn't imagine having to go through high school or middle school with a tool like Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat. All these instant informations. Where high school for me was a very awkward and uncomfortable time. I was really finding out who I was. I certainly wasn't, the person I am today. But the flip side is, right, all those experiences helped kind of build that. But I couldn't imagine, having the ability to have my flaws magnified. So the point of all this kind of exploration of thought is that these individuals, these young individuals, have a grasp on reality, a perception on the world that you and I, who are maybe not in high school, do not. And I think it's super important to have them included on this discussion. So we kind of conclude the program by talking about, how would we make a better world? Like what would a better world be? And it's kind of this open forum, right? Hey, what do you think? If you were to change one thing, what would it be? How would you improve it? Where we take these big ideas and we break them down step by step until we can really dial it down to the local community. And then once we have identified a problem or an action we can take within the local community, well, then we give them the assignment, right? We break them into groups and we say, hey, here's what we'd like you to do, whether it's 1 to up to probably 4 groups is what we're thinking. We create this assignment and we say, hey, why don't we all focus on fixing a community problem? The first thing we're going to do is help them structure the argument that they would make. They're going to identify the problem. They're going to talk about why this is a problem or why it could be improved. So that's another thing. It doesn't have to be a glaring problem per se. It can just be an area for improvement. Maybe, for example, the library cards could be digitized with an app that could be really easy and encourage more people to use the library. Just throwing that one out there, right? And that might be something they would present a plan for. So they would say, hey, here's the problem, here's why we believe the problem or our action item would be important, and here are the steps we recommend to take it. So they do the research and they present a plan of action. And what we do is we take that plan of action, and initially, we were going to submit it through the OurSociety town platform, but since we're not really doing the town platform anymore, we're focused more on the election, the free and open election platform. The OurSociety volunteer, in this case myself, will go to our township council meeting, or I should say a town hall, and we'll discuss it with the council. We'll explain what the students have done, and then we'll invite a council member or the mayor to come visit with us for a return visit to the school. And that's where we really bridge the gap. That's really one of the main objectives of our civic engagement seminars, is showing young students that their participation matters, and more importantly, it has tangible results. So we have a council member come in and talk to them about their plan. Hey guys, I really like this idea, and you know what, we're going to implement this. Or, hey, this is a really great idea, but we had some questions, and kind of have that group thinking, kind of get the ball rolling. So I'll give another example of a potential town project, just to give jog our thoughts about what kind of projects I'm talking about, and if you were this is something you're interested in volunteering, what kind of projects you might want to bring to the table for these students. So for an example, the town I live in currently, North Brunswick Township, they purchased a plot of land from a business that went out of business, and now the question is, well, what do we do with the plot of land? It was a swimming pool. It was a private swim club. Swimming pools have a high insurance liability, so the town's not really interested in hosting a swimming pool. So the question is, what do we do with it next? Now, there have been some suggestions and talk around the town, for example, of making it a sprinkler park, essentially a playground for children with sprinklers. Probably less liability than the pool, but still serving the same function. So a plan I've been working on to present to the town, and really to present to the students as a discussion example, and one of them may be able to take the ball and run with it, is converting that plot of land to a solar park. Right, having the township through the taxation of the citizens all invest into a solar park to build solar panels, and then take that excess energy generated by the solar panels and disseminate it back into the town. This really accomplishes two things. A, it makes our little township a little bit more green and a little bit more environmentally friendly. And B, it lowers the cost of energy for all the residents in the town. In a macro scale, when we look at it from a bird's eye view, this may seem like a very small drop in the bucket. But if we got every township, there's 538 municipalities, I believe, in New Jersey. So if we got every township and municipality to do a small program like this, I mean, that's a pretty tremendous impact right there. And that's kind of, the overall arcing theme of our civic engagement classes is there's these macro problems, and they're stressful, and they're very challenging. But the facts are, things have never been better, and we can do a video about that in the future. So the idea is, well, let's take our frustration, let's take our stress, let's take all this commotion of the outside world, and let's transform it into energy. Let's transform it into time and energy into a solution. Right? Because I think that's the biggest thing we can teach our youth about getting involved, is that your time and energy matters, and a higher level of community and a higher level of involvement in community has numerous benefits, both to the community and the individual. So again, if this is something you think you might be interested in doing in your own community, or if you're a professional educator with experience in working with high school students and you want to see what we're doing and give us perspective on how we can improve the platform, let us know. We're super excited about that. One final note, the educational aspect of the OurSociety Experiment is something that we have committed to as an organization that will supersede any directional changes in terms of the software or the technological solutions we are producing. That is just a core part of our key purpose, which is encouraging a highly engaged democratic process. Thanks again for tuning into the OurSociety Experiment.